for the last, I'm going to say 25 plus years, I have been an image consultant in 3 cities on 2 continents. I'm actually 4th generation in the fashion and clothing business. It's genetic. I can't help myself. My great-grandfather made fur coats in Russia. Both my mom and dad grew up in the men's clothing business. I actually studied textiles and business in college. So I'm a real textile junkie. And my big passion, kind of my uber passion, is I'm a costume historian. I love history. I used to teach history of costume at a fashion design school. I've made costumes for theater. So I'm really in the how do you want to show up? How do you want to look business? Now, that's just where I've always been. The week before COVID, I met a woman and she said, hey, let's do a workshop together. I thought I could do a workshop. Well, our first day to talk about it was the day California closed, because I live in the San Francisco Bay Area. And I thought, well, I could help people look their best and feel confident in their Zoom box. It was just a natural transition for me. And just also a little bit of backup. I lived in Europe and the Middle East for 15 years, and I lived in particular in Amsterdam. And when I lived in Amsterdam, I was fortunate enough to study European artists and the Dutch masters and impressionists in particular. And one of the things that I learned over 10 years is when they're painting their painting, so I look at your Zoom box as a painting. When artists are painting their painting, they know where they want you to look first. They show you where they want you to look first. And that's what I do. They quite often have lines of perspective. So even if you look at my Zoom box, I have 2 intersecting lines and they meet at my eyes. I've got these little round flowers, round glasses, round hardware, corner of the furniture. There's one diagonal, and that's very intentional. It's subliminal. That's why the subliminal lines of perspective. I also have another diagonal. This rectangle here, rectangular plane here, and a rectangular plane here. And again, my eyes are in the middle. So I'm forcing you to look at my eyes. Then your eye kind of goes down my torso. You could see my torso. You can read my nonverbal communication. So I'm directing you where I want you to look. And the reason for this is because it really helps the people that are talking to me engage with me. And that's what I help you do. I help people engage with you so that they're looking at you, they're paying attention to you, they can read your nonverbal communication, and it's easier for them. I have a slide presentation I'm going to show you. Let me share my screen, and I'm going to get going. So this is me. The name of my company is Shelley Golden Style. I'm a personal branding and executive image consultant, and now the Zoom makeover guru. I've worked with individuals. I work with companies across Canada and the US. I've given a ton of presentations to companies, organizations, and I'm really passionate about it. Oh, that is not what I wanted to do. Okay. Whoa. All right. What we're going to do today is talk about how you can up-level your screen presence, whether it's Zoom or Teams. It doesn't really matter. It's just how you present yourself online. So the question I ask is, how do you want to show up? How do you want to show up to the people you're talking to? This is an example of a Zoom makeover, before and after. So very clearly, this woman is an executive, a vice president at Intel. This is the space in her home that she was relegated to at the beginning of COVID. And we did assorted amendments to get through, to go from the before and after. And I'll walk you through that a little bit later, but I just wanted to show you the impact of a Zoom makeover on the before and after. So I created this 5-step process. The first step is camera angle. Where are you looking? Are people looking up your nose? Are they looking at your ceiling? Second one is lighting. And lighting is the very first thing that everybody sees. Whoa, that is not what I wanted to do. I have a very sensitive mouse here. The third one is background. Where are you? Are you in a virtual room? Are you in your kitchen, your bedroom, your dining room? People notice this. It makes a difference. It's kind of like what suit are you wearing to present yourself? Also, I'm a certified color consultant, so I'm really particular about what color clothing works for you in the space that you're in and the juxtaposition to everything else. And lastly, for women, since there's just two of you on the call, I'll kind of breeze through that, but it's Zoom-specific makeup techniques to create more of a three-dimensional look on this two-dimensional platform. At the beginning of COVID, I was looking down on my computer, my neck was killing me. The fact that I have a 30-year traumatic neck injury didn't help. So I'm really adamant how you position yourself with the camera. And what the most important thing I want you to see here is not necessarily how to sit or stand at your computer, but the straight line from the eye to the camera. It's a straight line. It's parallel with the floor. This way, you're not looking down and people are not looking up or down at you. This is what I aim for. I aim that it's easy to look at you. I could really engage with you. And notice that the lighting on everybody's face, for the most part, is even left and right. And in some cases, you could actually see the color of their eyes. The spacing on the top of their head, they all have just, for the most part, a little bit of space above their head, and the bottom of the box is at their armpits. I usually like for women for the bottom of the box to be just above the nipple line, so we could really see your torso. And for men, it could be at your diaphragm. This way, people can read your nonverbal cues. It's easier for them. There's not as much cognitive information that they have to process. So let's go through the steps. Step one, camera angle. So very clearly, if someone can see the ceiling, that means this person is looking down at her computer. It doesn't feel good. Nobody wants to look at the ceiling. What I aim for, and this is what makes it easy for people to engage with you, to improve your confidence, is that it feels like we're just sitting on the other side of the table, but you wouldn't sit at the other side of the table and look at someone's ceiling. Here's an example. I mean, I was on a call with this guy and I had to look up his nose for a half an hour. It was so uncomfortable where he's just kind of hanging out, leaning back. You want to have it eye level. Here's the opposite situation. The camera's looking down on top of her head, down on her leopard carpet. She doesn't have the power, the gravitas. It doesn't give her the authority. She looks very small and she's not a small woman. So you want to have that camera straight ahead. Step two, lighting. So lighting is the very first thing everybody notices. They notice if you're in the light. They notice if you're in the dark. They notice if you have light on half of your face. So you really want that light to come from in front of you, but not necessarily just from your computer. Here's a woman that I work with, just as an example. You can very clearly see she's sitting at her desk. You look on the left, you see her desk, her printer's on the right. This is her space. She is in the dark with this window behind her with the blinds closed. What you cannot see is she actually has a bright green sweater on. So what happens is the camera picks up white and light first and darkens everything else. And that's why you can't see that she has this green sweater on. We did a whole Zoom makeover, which is about 90 minutes, give or take. She had this screen that she usually uses for in-person events. She put it up. We talked about what color clothing works best on her, lighting, makeup. The only thing she really needed to do is there was a ceiling light on top of her. She didn't feel like crawling up on a ladder at that time, but she needed to just muffle that light, turn it off, diffuse it. And you could just see, you can engage with her. Her brand has certainly been elevated. And that's what I try to do, is elevate your brand, because what is your brand? It's the way people remember you. What the ideal lighting is to sit with facing a window. You don't have to sit this close to a window. You could be on the other side of the room. But if you have daylight coming in, daylight has all the different colors has all the different colors. So it's really the most beautiful light. But I get it, not everybody can. So you need to amend with lights. Let's talk a little bit about lighting. So this will be very important. Take a look at the picture on the right. In particular, look at the clock. The hands are at 10 and 2. For those of you who wear glasses while you're on your computer, that's how you want to position your lights at 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock. So it literally hits the left side of your face and the right side of your face, and you don't get that glare in your glasses. But take a look at the light that she has on her left. So it's positioned at 10 o'clock, but it's also, notice it's a little bit higher than her eyes, angled downward. And this just softens the light a little bit. This is a 6-inch ring light, which is a 6 or 8-inch ring light is a great size for working on a computer. You don't really need the large 10-inch ring lights. They're too big. This one is great. This one has an extendable stand. There's 2 different brands, depending if you go on Amazon, and one week they have a brand and the next week they don't. But that's a good size, and that's how you want to position your lights. On the left side, I have a 4-inch ring light. And what's new about it is they finally figured out that they can put it on a stand as opposed to a clip, which is so much easier. But all the ring lights have warm, neutral, cool. You always want to put your light on warm because that'll counterbalance the blue light coming off of your computer. If you do not wear glasses, I highly recommend the Lume Cube. It's easy. It's on a suction cup. You could put it on your computer, your monitor. Keep the lighting a little bit down. I don't think it looks good when it looks like you have a spotlight on your face. So one of the ways to combat that is fuchsia and yellow Post-its. This is my cheap and easy hack to counterbalance that blue light and create a more natural skin tone. So as I mentioned, I'm a certified color consultant. And when you mix fuchsia and this yellow together, you get kind of a peachy color, which is really, the skin color that balances the lights from the computer and your additional lights on your skin. And it doesn't matter whether you're dark skinned or light skinned, this is the perfect light combination. I recommend this to all of my clients. I could even show you my lights. That actually is my light. I took a picture of my light. I have some Zoom makeovers that I want to just show you, and this will give you some ideas of things that you can do working in the space that you're in. And some of them are really simple. So for example, this woman who I said is a VP at Intel, her elephant in the room was that huge glare coming through the window. I had her take 3 pieces of white printer paper and tape it in the window, got rid of the glare. I also had her put another piece of paper in a window in front of her. If you look on the before, there's a glare on her forehead. She had her kids' art project on pink construction paper, put that in the window, and I had her order a small ring light for the right side of her face. But the thing is, you can engage with her. The camera angle is looking right in her eyes. Her brand is elevated. I also then worked with her team of 120 people in Malaysia, Japan, UK, US, in group Zoom makeovers. So this is something that I do as well. Step 3, let's talk about your background. What does your background say about you? Think of it this way. The way people see you on your online, whether it's Zoom or Teams or WebEx, this is your new calling card. It's your new business card. When you hand somebody your business card, they look at it. Okay, now that's what they're doing. Are they judging you? Maybe, but you want it to look good. You want it to say who you are. Take a look at this picture. So this was a client that I worked with. What is the very first thing that you see when you look at her? And then the second thing. For me, the first thing I see is her face and her eyes. She's taking up a lot of real estate. I could really engage with her. Her eyes are kind of sucking me in, which is great. That's what you want. Then I kind of go down her chest a little bit and I see her blouse. I'm like, oh, it's the same color as her eyes. Now I'm going back and forth between her eyes and her blouse. And I'm like, oh yeah, they're the same color. And why do I say that? Because you want people to see your torso. You want them to be able to read your nonverbal cues, because that's what we're missing on online video conferencing. But we're actually talking about backgrounds. So I'm a huge believer in plants and greenery. It calms us down. It welcomes us in to elevate your brand. She's got the trees on the right. She has these beautiful white orchids on the left. Now, if those orchids were red or purple, that would be the first thing we see, but it's not. We want to see her face. I also talked a little bit about subliminal lines of perspective. Notice there's this line amongst her white space. There's this brown line leading right to her eyes on one side and the same on the other. So she's positioned in this great position. So you're forced to look at her eyes in her space. Here's another woman. This woman's a dietitian. Her big problem, her challenge was the window behind her. She said in the late afternoon, she had so much light coming in that window that she was getting a little bit backlit. And I showed you an example. So I didn't think she'd have a painting that fit perfectly in the window frame. She put this painting in. It looked great. It looked like it belonged on the wall. We moved some furniture around, including the leather chair that was behind her. We pushed it out into this open space, upholstered it with the backside of a duvet cover she had in her linen closet, which matched the painting perfectly. Mind you, it wasn't that fast. Put a pillow on it, straightened up the bookshelf, put some makeup on. The only thing she needed to do after her 90-minute Zoom makeover was get a light for the left side of her face. But you could see, you can engage with her more. She has more authority when you're talking to her, and certainly she feels more confident. Here's another example. Two things in this example. Notice the artwork changed because she had this piece of art that had glass on it that was reflecting the light. If you don't want any lights behind you, you don't want anything with glass reflecting light. I also had her change the vase from a black ceramic vase to a clear glass vase because it brings in more green. And like I said, green just calms us down and it invites people into your space. Here's the last one. This is the last before and after I'm going to show you. This woman had a physical virtual backdrop hanging on a frame. And you could actually see in the before the ceiling above her backdrop. We raised the camera up about a foot. We brought in a plant from her living room, and it looks like a normal bookshelf, but it's actually a storage shelf with really a lot of space between the shelves. So she put all these cookbooks, these very tall cookbooks on the shelves to make it look like a more inviting space that with books. But the reality is they were like all her, coffee table books, tall cookbooks, just to fill in that space. But it's more inviting. Her brand has been elevated and it's easier to talk to her and to engage with her. Here's the last one I'm going to show you. This one is he's a styling client of mine. And we did a couple of things in here. Because our eyes read from left to right, one of the things I had him do was turn the plant around by the window 180 degrees. So it creates a little bit of a subliminal line. I also had him, his bookshelf was actually, it wasn't a mess, but it was filled with books and tchotchkes and things. And the top was all boxes of storage with printer paper. And we cleaned it up. We made it neat. You want your background to be neat. But if you have books behind you in a bookshelf, try to angle them down from tallest to shortest if it's somewhere next to your eyes. It acts like another subliminal line. Let's talk about his clothing because that's leading into step 4. When he started off on this call, he had a navy blazer and a white shirt. And the navy blazer actually looked black. He blended in with the door, black and white, white and black. He didn't stand out, even though he's in a pretty busy room. So by changing his clothing, changing his shirt to a light blue shirt and his blazer to this brighter blue, he's absolutely in the foreground. And when you engage with him, you see his face and his torso. And that's what you want, so that people can engage with you. There's more trust when they could really see your body language. So that brings me to step 4. What color clothing looks best on you in your surroundings? For the most part, I say no white, no black. Why? Because the camera picks up white and light first, and that's the first thing our eyes see as well. That's not what we want. We want to see the face first. Okay, she's wearing white with a white background. Most people won't look that way. Whereas black, you actually recede into the background. It becomes a little bit of a black hole, and people can't read your nonverbal. It takes more cognitive energy to be able to decipher everything. So my suggestion to you is wear solid colors. By wearing the solid color and you're in the middle of your Zoom box, you actually act like a color block in the middle, helping people focus in on you. You can wear small patterns, but I'm sorry, I think it was Greg has a small pattern shirt, or Scott has a small pattern shirt on, and it's moiraying. So it's kind of moving around. So you need to be careful with small patterns, and you certainly don't want to wear large patterns because they are distracting. And step 5 is makeup. It's really how to create a bullseye on your face. I often say, make sure you wear lipstick so people can read your lips, but also you want to make sure they can see your eyebrows. And I have little tricks to create a 3-dimensional look of cheekbones and kind of get rid of that unineck look. Here's just a quick example of this woman on the right side of the screen. Her cheekbone looks higher and her jawline looks slimmer. So that's just an example, and also a Zoom makeover that we did. So what are the benefits of a Zoom makeover? It really helps increase your client engagement with you, which is really what you're looking for. You appear more trustworthy if people could see your eyes, if you're well lit. It up-levels your brand and increases your bottom line. And really that's what we're doing, especially since we will continue to do business over video conferencing. I have 3 different ways that I'm doing Zoom makeovers. I do individual sessions. It's 90 minutes. I actually already put a link in the chat if that's something that you're interested in. I do small groups within companies, kind of in real time. We just do it all together. And I also give presentations to companies and organizations. As I mentioned, I put in the chat, if you want to have a Zoom makeover with me, I'll also give an additional 30 minutes of a wardrobe or an image consultation, which is normally an additional $95. It's either for you or for somebody else. And the pricing is $395. I just want to close out by saying, when you want to inspire, make an impact, and have people pay attention to you and what you're saying, everything needs to be in alignment. And that's what I try to do with the Zoom makeovers, to help you elevate your brand. And with that, I thank you very much. I also have that I'm going to put in the chat. Let me just stop sharing my screen. I also have, oh, did I do this? Oh, a checklist that it's a 12 tips to improve your lighting and your background on Zoom. You can click on the link and get the checklist. It's just like kind of 12 basic, simple things. A lot of it is what I spoke about. And let me ask if anyone has any questions. Okay, let me show you something. So this is really good information, not necessarily as we're coming into the longest day of the year. I'm going to show you how to adjust the lighting on Zoom. So I know, Monique, you said that you are on Teams quite often. So everybody take a look in your Zoom window. On the bottom left corner, it says stop video. Click on the up caret next to the stop video icon, and then a drop-down menu comes up. On the bottom, it says video settings. Click on the video settings, and another box comes up with a picture of you. And underneath my video, there's a couple of lines. One of them says touch up my appearance. Make sure that's clicked. And what that does, it actually blurs everything, but it's kind of like a little instant facelift, takes about 5 years off, very nice. But be careful, you don't want to take too many years off because then your hair looks like a rat's nest. It just kind of, and it's also a little difficult for people because it blurs everything. And underneath that, it says adjust for low light. Check that box, adjust for low light, and within there is another box. Okay, put it on manual and play with the toggle. There you go, Carrie. The reason I'm pointing this out is in the winter, this is a really great tool to know that it's here in Zoom if you're going to be using Zoom. Why do I say that? If you have an early morning meeting, if you have a late afternoon meeting, and all of a sudden it's getting dark in your space, you can actually brighten your room. And why do you want to do that? Because if I'm talking to you, let's say, Scott, I'm talking to you, you and I are having a meeting and 5 o'clock and it's getting dark. And I'm going to think, wow, it's getting dark in there. Wow. I wonder if he's going to turn the lights on. I wonder if he even knows it's getting dark in there. In the meantime, I'm not paying attention to what he's saying because I'm distracted with the lighting. So if you can keep that lighting the same, it's one less distraction that people will have, and they can pay attention to you and what you're saying. But that's a really great tool. Actually, every time I get on a Zoom call, I'm on Zoom all day long, it seems like sometimes, I'm constantly adjusting that light because I have a sliding glass door to my left. And in the afternoon, it faces west. It's so bright in here. I have to close curtains. I have a very difficult time adjusting the light in here. So I'm constantly adjusting it with this tool. And so I try to keep everything the same, just one less distraction. The interesting thing is a lot of people say, oh, I'm just going to leave it on auto. Well, look what happens if I put it on auto. My guess is my room will darken. Yep. So it darkened, and people think, oh, it's on auto, it's okay. But by putting it on manual, you actually have more control. It's kind of a funny thing. If you were outside in the evening, I actually did a Zoom call, it was just a social Zoom call outside in the evening with the stars behind me. I put it on auto and I was completely well lit. Let's see, any questions?
I think so. Interesting. Very, very good. Learned a lot. Took a lot.
Well, good. Thank you.